professions that he wanted to get into. And he was telling me that he had a teacher who really influenced him about politics. So he wanted to go to an entirely different subject. I said, if you're going to go, if you're going to do that, I said, why get into politics? I said, everyone in politics is a lawyer. Why not become a lawyer? And I think he listened, but I'm still not sure.
Well, actually, he did two things. I remember I'd been accepted at Albany State in the political science master's program.
Political science was the thing, yeah.
And I was going to go into that, and I have to say, you have the amazing ability to look at something and then, in a negative way, show me that that had made absolutely no sense to do that. And then I was going to go to Syracuse for journalism, and somehow you called your friends who knew something about the University of Syracuse, and somehow you came up with statistics about how many graduates from Syracuse Journalism School had jobs, and there was hardly any, which depressed me beyond belief. So you had the ability to do that, and then you kind of swayed me from that. But somehow you were able to find, I don't know where you found these statistics, but you always did. But you also were funny, because I remember one time, I didn't listen to you, and I'm happy I didn't, but it was kind of funny in a way, because I remember I was working as a lawyer in Albany, wasn't making a lot of money, working for the state, was pretty frustrated, and I decided to go to Boston University to the master's tax program. And I remember you said, why are you thinking of doing that? And we were at the table, and for an hour, like a lawyer, you cross-examined me. Why are you doing that? Doesn't make any sense. You've got a job now. What makes you think this is going to make any difference? And we went on and on and on and on. And I was getting red in the face, and you were brilliant. It was like you were Clarence Darrow. And when it was all over, I thought I'd made a pretty good case, and you said, yeah, I think it makes sense. I was just playing devil's advocate. And I could have strangled you. But there was no one better than you at doing that. You were fantastic, I have to say.
That's great. Thank you, Mark. I remember we came home one day, and he had A's and B's, and Toby said to him, that's terrific. That's really a good report card. And he says, it's not that good. He said, it's a B group. I said, well, what's a B group? He didn't know. So we went to school to find out she and I went to school to find out what a B group was. And we found out a B group, they decided in that group, these kids would never make college. They weren't college material. I said, well, what makes college material? She says, well, children that get higher marks and have more knowledge than the others. So I said, well, how do you know that at such a young age? I said, they're not even in high school yet. It was junior high. So she suggested that I speak to the principal. We got the same results. So we finally went to the, the school superintendent. At that time, I was working from the Keston. We did quite a bit of advertising. And I said, I told him the same story. How could they tell about at this age? And he said, well, we go by certain percentages. And he says, he falls into that percentage. Then we don't want to spend our time teaching kids like that, because they're never, for college entrance exams, because they're never going to make it. Well, that aggravated me. So I said, you know, my parents weren't that knowledgeable when I was a child, and so I never did anything about school. I said, but I see how important it is. And he didn't relent. So I told him that I don't want to, if worse comes to worse, I was going to see if the newspaper would take a story like this. And that he wasn't interested in. He says, I tell you what, we'll give allow Mark to take the courses. If he passes, even if as long as he passes, we'll give him the college entrance evidently he passed it because that's where he is now.
Well, actually, I remember you used to I hung around with a bunch of kids in junior high school. Kind of tough kids, and our whole thing was you don't want to go to school, that's being a sissy. So I didn't really have a real good background. And I remember you and Mom traipsing into school. I would see you and I went, oh my God, they're going to the administration. I don't know what they're talking about. But what they did because of you is they started a pilot program for people like me who could do well in the standardized tests, but were not doing that well in school. So it looked like you had the intellect, but for some reason we're not using it. And because of what you and Mom did, they created that, which I thought was pretty amazing. And I thought that was also one of the reasons, because you were annoyed at the school district, that we moved to Albany. I remember you were really annoyed at that whole thing.
When they told me that they're not gonna. How could you tell a child is not college material when he's just in junior high school? I said, once he hits high school and you see this, you can put him into you can sort of convince him to do differently. But I said, at that age you can't do it. Well, they never agreed with me, but
no, you were relentless. The other thing you did with me, I remember, to this day, I remember, is Bob, you always read quite a bit. You were a big reader. I was not a reader. I didn't like reading, but you noticed that I liked